Welcome back, everybody. Today is another podcast about Michigan basketball. This is a fun game that Michigan guys play, Michigan fans like to play. A fun game that any college basketball or football fan plays. It's trying to predict which players are going to be leaving through either graduation or professional careers, and which guys will stick around for another year. And in basketball, it's more fun because there's no minimum year requirement as there is in football. So I'm just going to be going through Michigan's roster and seeing and talking about which guys I think will stay, which guys I think will leave, and explaining why. Now, obviously, Adrian Nunez is a junior. He's pretty much reserved or resigned to the bench at this point. I'd like to see him get some minutes as a senior. He's a good shooter, but hasn't really been his probably what he would like when he went to Michigan or committed to Michigan. He hasn't gotten much playing time. Obviously, he'll stick around for another year if he doesn't transfer, which I don't expect. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Hunter Dickinson, DeMatha from DeMatha in Maryland, was top 40 recruit and had a really great start to the year where I even made a video about him needing to or being an All-American candidate. Now, he's fallen off since then, let's be honest. He's had 3 straight tough games since I made that video, starting with the loss at Minnesota and continuing in dominant victories over Maryland, Purdue. But Michigan hasn't needed him, and I think this tough stretch has just solidified his stay at Michigan for another year. I think there was chatter about him testing the draft waters as he was dominating college basketball, but this kind of stumble, I think, will convince him to stay another few years. And Hunter had always said, even when things were going great and when he was getting all the hype, that he was really not thinking about going pro. I think he's considered this as his home for at least the next couple of years. I don't think he sees himself as a one-and-done player at all, and I fully expect him to come back to Michigan next year. Let's move on. Now, seniors such as Isaiah Livers have the option of staying another year. I don't think that's what Isaiah Livers will do. I hate to say that. He's one of the most beloved players at Michigan, a real 4-year starter, a 4-year veteran, a guy who's played big minutes throughout his time at Michigan, starting from day one till now, and he's become Michigan's most steady player, our best player, I would say, which is what I'd expected at the start of the year. It didn't initially happen as Hunter Dickinson was great, but Livers won the Big Ten Player of the Week last week, and he's really found his stride as a really great outside shooter, mid-range shooter, and finisher at the rim. I expect him to be a second-round NBA pick or NBA draft pick. Last year, he tested the waters. It was smart for him to come back. He was not ready to enter the NBA last year, and he would not have been drafted. So I think he's made his mark on Michigan, made his mark on college basketball, and should have some teams calling him in next year's NBA draft. Zeb Jackson's a freshman. He'll stay another year. No need talking about that. Brandon Wade, stay another year. Terrence Williams, another guy we don't really need to talk about. Okay, Mike Smith, graduate. He has the option of staying another year, but this is his 5th year playing college basketball. He stayed 4 years at Columbia. I see very little chance that Mike Smith decides to come back next year, if only because 6 years in college basketball is a lot for anybody, and he'll probably test Europe. He's not an NBA guy, but I'm sure he'll find a job somewhere next year. Let's move down to Chaundi Brown, a senior, transferred from Wake Forest. This is a little interesting because seniors have the option of coming back next year. They have one this year of eligibility doesn't count. So Chaundi has the chance to come back next year. I don't think it'll happen. He's not been at Michigan all 4 years. This was, I think, a move to chase victories, his transfer from Wake Forest. And I think his main goal this year is to win a title. I don't think he's sticking around next year. He's actually a very talented player. And I think he'll catch a contract abroad. Here's probably what everyone wanted to talk about. Everyone's talking about Franz Wagner, who has made his case as a top 30 NBA draft prospect with his play this year. Now, my opinion on Franz Wagner, I think he has a lot of room for improvement, even with his outbreak this year. I think that he could hone in defensively even more, hone in offensively. just shooting-wise, scoring-wise, he needs to become more consistent. This is a guy that obviously has tremendous talent, and whose older brother, Mo, was a lottery pick in the NBA draft. Or not a lottery pick, but a first-round pick in the NBA draft, going 25th to the Lakers. Franz, I think, should follow Mo's path. Mo took 3 years at Michigan. He left after his junior year, where he was the star of a team that went to the national championship game. I think Franz Wagner would be smart to stay around another year, even though he's projected as either a late first rounder or early second rounder on most sites. If Michigan has a great year next year, and Franz is the crucial piece in that team, the star, the All-American guy, that'll really boost his draft stock. Now, do I think he'll stay? I'm pretty sure he's gone. I'd give it an 80% chance that he's going to declare for the NBA draft after the season, considering he really thought about it last year. But I'd love it if he stayed. I think it would actually be the right career move for him. I don't think it'll happen, though. Brandon Johnson's a junior. He'll come back, unless actually I've heard some transfer talk, but I think that's quieted down with his recent good play. CJ Barrett, I love him. He's a senior. Honestly, don't know if he'll come back. He has the option, but he'll probably look for a job elsewhere. Basketball's not in his future. Jace Howard hopefully gets more minutes next year. Luke Wilson, not too much to say about him. Faulds, the Columbia transfer, not too much to say. Now, Austin Davis is a graduate student. He's a senior. I would question. I think he's been at Michigan for 5 years now. Just like Mike Smith, 6 years playing college basketball seems a little extensive. I don't think there's any need for him to stay. I would expect that he is gone next year. Here's the most interesting senior in terms of are they going to go or stay? Eli Brooks. Now, Eli Brooks, his pro prospects, not really there. I mean, maybe he could catch a ride in Russia or somewhere in Europe, somewhere in South America. But I don't think that's that promising a career for someone like Eli Brooks. I think of all of our seniors, this is the best bet to come back next year. Mark my words, Eli Brooks, definitely highest chance of coming back to Michigan next year. I say that because he is a 4-year guy. He's clearly a great college player. Doesn't fit in well, I don't think, professionally. But this is a guy that loves Michigan and who's made a home here. And I think I actually would place his odds at above 50% at return next year. Now, I'm not saying he will return next year, but of all the seniors, this is the one. Eli Brooks is the one that I would really hope makes an appearance at Michigan next year, makes a season at Michigan next year. Now, I obviously don't have much intel on these guys. I know what I can read on 247 Rivals, all the Michigan websites, but that's about it. So this is clearly only my opinion, and I'm kind of just repeating what I've heard. But I'm a loyal Michigan fan. I watch all their games. I know what I see, and I'm pretty well versed when it comes to basketball. So I think coming back for the big names, Eli Brooks, Hunter Dickinson, and I would love it if Franz Wagner came back, but I don't think so. I think everyone else is gone, which includes Wagner. So, yeah, Michigan's going to really be starting with a different team next year. I think Dickinson's the core piece to build around. If Eli Brooks comes back, he'll be veteran presence, and the rest is going to be very young. I'll look for Zeb Jackson to step up. Look for Brandon Johns to have to step up. And, yeah, this team, it's going to be interesting next year. I think we'll see how it goes. And once again, thank you for watching. Making it through another Michigan video. If you like Michigan, give this video a thumbs up. And see you guys later.